Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the series of Django Rest Framework. So in the previous video, we saw that we created the API using function-based view. In today's video, we will be creating the API using class-based view. In the future, there are multiple different ways in which we can make the APIs, like function-based API view, class-based API view, view set, and model view set. But there is some small changes in the class-based view that we are going to make against the function-based view. As you can recall in the function-based view, that if you want to get the single data or we want to update the single data, what we used to do, we used to call the endpoint as /API/post and /1. /API/post doesn't depend, but the /1 was the intermediary part which helped us to know that we want to update this data or get this data. So what we'll be doing in today's video, we'll be making the same endpoint for each and every part and differentiating the data according to the methods. So let's go back to our IDE and start coding for this and how we'll do the code for this part. So we are back to Visual Studio Code, our best IDE over here to write the code. So this is a serializer with which we are working it. It has a three field, as a ID field, name field, and role field. And this is a create and update method that we created in the previous video. Create method is used to create the data and update method is used to update the data. Okay, and let's see the URL. This is the URL for the function-based view, which has the API URL, which has API, small API to get the data, all data, and post the data. Okay, and this is the URL to get the single data, update the single data, and delete the data. So in today's video, we'll be making only one API. So since we are going to make the class-based view also, let's do one thing. Let's create a folder over here, name as view, and move the function-based view over there. Okay, and we'll also create the new class over here, view over here, which is name is class_based_views.py, and make the necessary changes in our URL file over here. So this is the current URL that we have already written. So what we'll do is, since we have created the class file also, we'll add the class URL view file also over here. So we'll import that first. So for importing that, what we need to do is, first we need to import the proper path, because since we have changed our file, so how we can import is from drf_app.views, import function-based view, and we'll also import the class-based view over here. Okay, and now since we will be having the multiple views over here, it's a good practice to write a comment so that the other fellow who are going to use your code, who are going to see your code, will get a better understanding of your code. So for what we'll do, we'll add a comment over here as function-based view URLs. Okay, and we'll also add the comment for the class-based view URLs over here, class-based view, and let's for a time being comment the actual URL for the function-based. Okay, we'll come back later and add the class-based view URL over here. So let's go back to the class-based view URL and start writing the code. So since we are writing the class-based view, we'll write class, and let's give the API name as a student API. Okay, and this will import from the view. So we need to import this view file. So for that, we'll write from Django.views import view. Okay, so since we imported view over here, so this class has a different kind of a method which tells the request that this is type of the method. So for example, we have a get method, so we'll write def get, and this will take the 4 argument, which is self as by default, because we are writing the class-based view over here. Okay, then there will be like request argument, then there will be args, and as we all must have guessed, quarks. Okay, so now since we are getting the request, so first what we need to do is we need to see that this get request is for the single data or for the multiple data, and what is the differentiating factor between this thing? The ID factor. If you are getting some ID, this means that we need to get the single data. If you are not getting the ID, it means that we need to get all the data. So to get the ID, what we need to do first? We need to first parse the data. So to parse the data, what we need to do is, first let's store in JSON data is equal to request.body. Okay, since we got the request.body, so now what we need to do, we need to create a string for this. String equal to io.byte. Okay, bytes io, then we need to write inside that JSON data. So first we need to import the io. So for that, import io. Okay, so IO has been imported. Now since we have converted into stream, so now we need to parse the data and convert it into our Python dictionary. So how we can do that? For that, we need to write let's store in Python data equal to JSON parse dot parse, and inside that we'll write a string over here. So now we need to import JSON parse. So for that, how we can import JSON parse over here? So from rest underscore framework dot parser import JSON parser. Okay, so now I think the spelling is wrong, so we'll take this from over here. Okay, so now since we have got the Python dictionary over here, so inside the Python dictionary we need to check are we getting the ID field or not. So how we can check that inside the dictionary, how we can get the data? So from Python data, what we'll do is Python data dot get will check the ID field is there or not. If it is not there, by default it is none. So there is a second argument inside the dictionary. What is the default of what value you want to pass if you don't get the key over there? So we'll pass as a none over here and we'll store it in the ID field. So now we need to check is ID if ID is not none. Okay. So we are checking over here that ID is not none. If ID is not none, what we need to do? We need to pass the single data. So we need to do student dot objects dot get ID equal ID. So now we need to import the student model over here. So for that, what we need to do? We need to import from dot model. Since we are inside the folder, so we need to get out of the folder and go inside the models file over here. So for that reason, from dot models, import student. Student. Okay, so now we got the student, so we will store it in stu underscore obj. Okay, always have a proper naming convention. Since it is an object over here, we are naming as stu underscore object. So whenever the person who is referring your code will be have a better understanding of the code. Okay, so now since we got the object, we need to serialize the data and convert it into the JSON format so that we can pass the data to the front-end people. Okay, so how we can serialize the data? We have already created a serializer class, so we'll import our serializer class over here. So from dot serializer import student serializer. Okay. So in student serializer, what we'll do, since it is a single data, we'll be passing this normal stu data over here and not many parameter. And since it is serialized data, what we'll write a name over here, stu underscore cd. Okay. So now we need to render this data. So how we can do the render data? JSON renderer. So we can do same thing over here. We can go over here from rest underscore framework dot parsers. We'll now choose renderer and we'll import the JSON renderer over here. So we'll copy paste JSON renderer. It's a function. So and dot render, and we'll pass the students to cd inside this. And we'll store it in the JSON underscore data object. Okay, so now we need to pass the JSON data. How we can pass? Return HTTP. So now we need to return in data, so we need HTTP response over here. So how we can get that? From Django.http import HTTP response. Okay, so now since we got HTTP response, we'll pass over here JSON data, and second would be we need to tell the our application that the data that you're passing is in JSON data. So we can write content underscore type is equal to application slash JSON. Okay, so now this the code is written for the data if it is a single data we are passing. If it has got ID, if it has not got ID, we need to pass all the data. So we'll copy this whole code over here. It will remain the same, and we'll write over here. And instead of getting a single ID, what we'll do, we'll write all over here, and we'll remove the ID from here. And since there are multiple data over here, we need to write many equal to true, and that's it. This code will do the both work of getting the single data and getting all the data over here. So to check this thing, what we'll do, we'll go to a Postman. First, we need to run the application, Python manage.py run server, and now we'll be going to the Postman, And to get all the data, what is the thing? We need to pass some data, because they are expecting something dictionary kind of object which will have a null object or ID field over here. So we'll pass the dictionary over here, okay, and we'll click the send button. And there is some error over here. Let's find the error. Okay, they are not finding the URL. Since we have not defined the URL, so we need to define the URL. So we'll be going to the URL file. We'll be copying the same URL as the function based view, because it will remain the same, but this with slightly twist. So in the function based view, how we used to write the URL? Function based view dot function name. Since we are using the class based, we need to convert that method. So what we'll do, we'll write class based view and function class name over here, which is student API, and need to convert into the function. So dot as underscore view. Okay, this is how URL will write. Now again we'll go to the postman and click the send button. There is some error again. Object of list. We are as it is passing the student series, but what we need to do is student series dot data we need to do over here. Okay. So again we'll go over here and hit the send button, and as you can see, all the data which are there in the database which I have created earlier are over here. So how we can get the single data? So for that we'll come over here in body, then we'll write ID. Let's say we want this whole R data over here, so we'll give ID equal to 3 and send. And there is some error again, so we need to go over here, and the same mistake we did over here also. Choose to series dot data and send. As you can see over here, so I am not cutting down my any of the error over here, because the way I make the error, you will understand what kind of a mistake you can do, so you will have a better understanding. Okay, so since we have done the get part over here, let's go and create the post part over here. Now every code will remain almost same. So let's copy the get part and paste it over here, and instead of get we'll do it post. So in post, what we need to do, we'll be getting all the data. Let's go into postman, and this is the data that we want to create. Okay, so we'll be getting this data. So to get the data, we'll be getting the data, converting into byte, then into the Python dict. Now we don't need to check the ID. So we'll remove this ID field, and we'll remove this whole code. Okay, so we've done this part. Now we need to check is the serializer valid or not. So first we need to pass the whole data over here. So we don't need this part also. So we'll get the Python data, and data equal to Python data. We don't need main equal to true, because we are not getting any kind of a data from there. Now we need to check, is this the serializer, that the data that we pass to the serializer, is it valid or not? How we can check that? If studseries dot is underscore valid. Okay, if it is valid, we need to save the data, studseries dot save. So whenever we create, whenever we call the valid method, what does the serializer do? Serializer go back to the serializer go back to the our serializer and check whether all the validation is working properly or not. If the validation is working properly, it will return true. And whenever we hit this save button, it will go and call our create method. Okay. Now say if the our data is valid, then we need to render the data. So how we can render the data? We need to come over here, copy this line. Okay, it is already over here. Renderer. Okay, now if the data is not valid, what we need to do, we need to throw the error. So for that, it will write else, and instead of data, what we'll be writing, we'll be throwing the errors. Okay, so now since we have got the data, I think this is the code for the post part. Let's see, does it working properly or not? We'll go into postman. Let's create the data, because the endpoint will be remain the same. We don't need to touch the endpoint, it will always remain same. Let's create the send button, and we got some error. What's the error? CSRF token. So since in the post method it's a Django mandatory thing that you need to pass the CSRF token to validate the security part over here. For now, since we don't want to do the security part and everything, we'll exempt that thing. So in the function based view, what we used to write, the CSRF exempt over here. So in the class based view, there is a different way in which we can write this exempt thing. So for that, what we need to do, we need to import one decorator over here. So how we can import from Django .utils .decorator import method decorator. Okay, and we'll place the method decorator above the class based view at the rate method decorator, and inside this we'll write CSRF exempt. But we need to import the CSRF exempt. So how we can import the CSRF exempt over here? So for that, from Django dot views dot decorators dot CSRF import CSRF exempt. So we'll call the CSRF exempt over here. Then we'll give name equal to dispatch. Okay. So now we won't be getting this error. Let's go and try hitting the postman. As you can see, the data has been created. If you want to check, as we know, we will come over here and see. Okay, we are asking for ID3, but we want all the data, so we'll remove the ID3. We'll pass the empty dictionary over here and hit the send button. And as you can see, the data has been created. Okay, and now what if you want to update this data? We don't like the Ninu name over here. I don't know why I'm naming this thing. So for that, what we'll do, we'll create a put method. So for put method, what we'll do, we'll exactly copy the get over here. It will be a mixture of get and post over here. So we have, instead of get, we'll write put. Okay, so we'll be getting the data, we'll be streaming it, we'll be parsing it. And now again we'll be checking for the ID, because in the put we need to check the because we need to update a single data, right? So for that we will be needing the ID. So we'll be getting the ID. Now we did not need to check, because we will be getting the ID over here. Okay, so we'll come over here, we'll remove this part. So first we need to get the data which we need to update. Okay, and now this is the object that we are getting, and what data we need to change for update. For that we will be passing data equal to Python data. This will be telling that this is the new data that we want to update, and it should be partial equal to true. It means that it can be half updated. We don't need to be full update. If we make partial equal to false, the whole data should come at once. Okay, so now again we need to check is it valid or not. So for that we'll copy this whole code and write it over here, and that's it. This is the whole put code over here. Okay, so let's go and check this thing in the postman. We'll come in updated entry, and we'll change our fourth entry from Ninu to, let's say, Taxonomy. Oh, what a nice name. And hit a send button over here, and you can see the data has been changed, and let's confirm it is changed or not. And you can see the previously it was Ninu, and now it is Taxonomy. Okay, so now only the last method is remaining, which is delete, which is fairly simple, because it is the simplest method of all. So what we need to do is we'll come again over here. Let's copy a bit of code, because this much code will remain same. We'll come over here. Instead of put, we'll use delete method over here. It is a request body, streaming, passing the data, getting the ID, and now we'll delete the student object dot delete, and whatever personalized message that we want to pass over here, we'll write response equal to your let's say message data has been deleted. Yeah, so we have written this message. I know this is an awful message over here. So now again we need to render this data. So for that we'll come over here and render this data. Instead of stu_error, what we'll pass? We'll pass the response over here, because it should be always a kind of a dictionary. Okay, and we'll pass this dictionary to the front-end people, so that they would be able to get our amazing message. Okay, so let's go and delete the taxonomy. Oh no, I don't like deleting taxonomy. I'll delete Hola. So I'll go in the delete entry, and the ID of Hola is 3, and we'll hit the send button. Oh, and Hola has been deleted. Let's confirm it. We'll go over here and hit the send button. Oh, and yes, the Hola has been gone. So this is the class-based view that we created. Is the same as the function-based view. By some tweaks and tricks, we have changed it from function-based view to class-based view. So as you can see, there is a lot more of code over here, but don't worry, in the future, this thing of byting, streaming and everything will vanish it out with the our API view. So don't forget to watch out in our next video, because the line of code will get shorter and shorter and shorter. So that's it. If you like the video, please press the like button, share it with your friends, share it with your IT geeks who want to learn how they can make the APIs. Subscribe to my channel, because it motivates me to make more such videos for you. Leave me the comments what are your thoughts for this video, what more improvement I can do, what are your feedbacks. So till next video, take care, see ya.